Hey, I'm Jake. There's been some major changes on how to implement Unity ads within actually the last few months. I posted a video on how to do this, I believe like 3 months ago, and basically the monetization class has been deprecated, which means everything in the code that we made before isn't gonna work. So we're gonna get right into that, but before we do, if you guys would consider subscribing, it would mean a lot to me and it would help my channel to grow. But yeah, let's get into this tutorial. Jumping right into Unity, we have a pretty simple scene here. It's just a canvas. It has two buttons. One's an interstitial ad button and one's rewarded video ad button. And they both don't do anything right now, as you can see. They're both empty. And that's all we have for this scene. Now, there's one thing that we need to download from the assets store. And we're going to search for Unity Monetization. And it's this one, it's just the Unity Monetization. This one says SDK 3.0. It has been updated, it has deprecated the previous class, so none of that other code is gonna work. So all you need to do is just import it. I've already imported it in this project, but you would just hit this button and you would know that you have it based on this Unity ads folder. Don't do anything with this, just know that it's there and that it's gonna work. The next thing before we get started is you're gonna wanna go to your build settings. So that would be in File, Build Settings. And you just wanna make sure that your platform is set to either Android or iOS. I'm using Android. You know that it's selected based on if it's blue and it has the Unity icon. If it's not, click on it and then just hit Switch Platform. Next, you're gonna wanna go to your services. I have it just labeled out here, but for you guys, it would just be under Window, General, and Services. My bad. Okay. So once you get in here, you'll see that you have this option for ads. You're just going to want to go in here and you're going to want to turn it on. So after clicking and turning on the ads, you just want to make sure of two things. You want to make sure that this test mode is enabled and that in the advanced section that you have the built-in ads extension. Other than that, you can just pretty much just exit out of services. So now we actually want to start writing some code. So I have a scripts folder here and we're just going to create a new C# script and I'm going to call this Ad Manager. Ad Manager. Then we're going to open this up in Visual Studios. I'm going to delete, you don't need this. You will need the start method, but you do not need the update method. We also don't need these, the system collections and system collections.generic. So I'm just going to delete them. But we do want to use the advertisements from the SDK that we downloaded previously. So just type in using Unity Engine and then advertisements. Okay. Now we're gonna work with interstitial ads first and then we'll move on to the rewarded video ads. But before we get started, we're gonna want two things from the Unity developer dashboard. So we're just gonna jump over there real quick. Now, I'm currently in the project that I've set up for that scene. Make sure you're in the Operate tab and then it's just under Projects. And then when you're in your project, you wanna go to the Monetization tab and then go down to Placements. Now, there's a few things on this page that we're gonna wanna record into the code. Mainly right now we want these game IDs. So first we're going to copy the Play Store game ID and then we're going to go to the code and even though it's an integer, we want to use it as a string. So we're going to say private string, my bad, and we're going to call it Play Store ID and then you just set it equal to the number that we took from the website. Now we'll need to go back and copy the App Store as well. And then just create another string, except we're going to call this one App Store ID this time. And nope, that's not what I meant to do. And then just paste in what you copied. Okay, next we're going to want two more things from that website. We are going to want a private string, and this is what we're going to call our interstitial ad. And what this is, we're going to want the information on what kind of ad we're going to be placing when we show it to the user. And the way to tell it, when you come in here, you have two options. You have a video ad and a rewarded video ad. You can also add another one, like a banner ad. If you come in here, you select banner, you create the placement ID. You would just basically type in banner, and then you could do it. And it's basically the same way to show it as what I'm going to be showing. But for this tutorial, we're not going to be using banner ads. I'm just going to be showing the basic video ad and the rewarded video ad. And the video ad is otherwise known as like an interstitial. That's how they're referring to it in the new documentation. I'm pretty sure they're going to switch it over. The interstitial ad, what it can do, it can be a full-size image that takes up the whole screen, or it could be a video that plays, or it could even be a short little game teaser that asks you to download their game. So we need to determine which one of these types of ads we want to show. And by default, if you click on this, you can see this placement ID. It's just video. That's default for everybody. So we're just going to copy that and paste it. Now, we're going to want to create one for the rewarded video ad as well. So we're just going to do rewarded video ad. And then by default, it's just a lowercase rewarded and then an uppercase video. But just if you want to make sure on what yours is, you just click on rewarded, and on the placement ID, just copy it and paste it. Okay, so that's all we're going to need from the Unity developer dashboard. Pretty simple. There's just two more variables that we need to create before we get going in the actual code. So what are those? These are going to both be public because these are going to determine what type, like if we're on the App Store, Play Store, and whether or not this is a test ad. So the first one we want to create is a Boolean, and we're going to call it is target Play Store. And so what this is going to do is if it's true, then that means that we want to deploy this on the Play Store, and if it's false, we want to deploy the ads towards the App Store, okay? And then we want to create one more public Boolean, and this is going to be called is test ad. And basically, if it's true, that means that we're testing the ad and we don't actually deploy real ads to the user. If you do use actual ads while you're testing the game, Unity will disable your entire services account. You won't be able to do in-app purchases, analytics, or ads through them. At least you could use AdMob, but it's just better not to do that. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to recreate the start function. So we're going to say private void start and then just create it. And we're also going to want to make a method, a private void initialize, we'll just call it advertisement. Okay. So, and what this is going to check for is we're going to just, in this method, we're going to determine whether or not we're wanting to deploy this to the App Store or the Play Store. So, we're just going to say if is target Play Store, which means if we want it on the Play, if we have set this Boolean to true, right, then we want to deploy it to the Play Store. So we would say advertisement.initialize, and it requires two things. Yes, two things. First, it requires one of the IDs that we've taken previously. So for this case, we would say the Play Store ID. And then on the other one, it wants to know whether or not it's a test ad or not, if it wants to deploy real ads or test ads. And so we would just pass it is test ad. Okay. And then following that, if we initialize it here, we do not want to go any farther with this method, so we would just hit return. Okay, and that would just break out of the method so that it would never call the App Store. But if it doesn't, if it's not towards the Play Store, that means that we want the App Store. So all we would do here is just advertisement.initialize, and then we would keep going with the App Store ID this time, and is test ad. No, I'm sorry. I see. Okay. And that's all that method's going to be. And then here we are just going to say initialize advertisement. We're just going to call that method. So when it first starts, it initializes the ads. Great. So now this is way easier than it was the last tutorial. And you'll see that pretty soon here, because now we're going to want to call the interstitial ad. So we're going to create a new method. This one's going to be public, because we're going to need to call it from other places, whether it's a singleton reference or just through a button. In this case, I'm going to do a button. So we'll just do public void, and we're going to say play interstitial ad. I don't know if I spelled that right, but I don't care. Okay, and what we're doing in here now, there's just two things. First, we want to check if the ad is ready, and then if the ad is ready, we want to deploy it. So we're going to say if advertisement.isReady. And this is a method, and we need to pass it which type of ad we're looking for. In this case, we want to play an interstitial ad. So we would just put in interstitial ad. And basically, so we're just passing this to that to make sure if that's ready. But we don't want to check if it's true, we want to check if it's false. So we would just put an exclamation mark in front, which just means false. Check it for false. And if it is false, which means it's not ready, we would return. Following that, that means that the ad is ready and we would like to deploy it to the user, right? Just a second. So the way that we do that, it's very simple. All we have to do now is advertisement.show and then pass it the interstitial ad. That's it. That's as simple as it gets, really. So let's just save that. And now we're going to want to come in here, and I want to show you guys the interstitial ad working first. So we're going to need to do a few things. We're going to create an empty game object. We're going to call it add manager. Okay. We're going to add a component, and we're going to bring in the ad manager. Since my target is Android right now, I'm going to say that it is targeted towards the Play Store, which is the Android version, and that it is in fact a test ad. Okay, so that's all we have to do on the ad manager game object. Now with this interstitial ad, we want to add a thing to the button. We're going to take the ad manager, bring it in here. Then we're going to go to the ad manager and do the play interstitial ad. Okay, so now when we hit play and we click on interstitial ad, we know it's an interstitial ad because you can skip it and close. If it was a rewarded video ad, it would only have the option to close. So everything looks like it's working, so we're just going to close out of that. And now we're going to start with the rewarded video ad. Now, the rewarded video ad is a little bit more complicated, but not really. The initial setup is in fact the same. We would just create another public void play rewarded video ad, and it's the same thing, really. I'll just go through it again. So you would want to check if it's available, right? So we'd go advertisement.isReady. But this time we would pass in the rewarded video ad to check if that's ready, and if it's not, then we would want to return out of that method. But if it is, we would want to show the rewarded video. No, that's wrong. Oh my gosh. I cannot type today. Anyway, we would want to show the rewarded video ad. And you might think that that's done. If we come in here actually, and then we just go to the rewarded video button, we add a thing, add the ad manager, and play rewarded video ad, you'll see that it actually does work. It will pass it to see how it'll play it, right? And it's a rewarded video ad, and we know it's because it only has the close, it doesn't have the skip button. But there's no way right now to actually reward the player for watching that ad, right? Which defeats the whole purpose. So just come back into the script, and now we want to incorporate a way for the ads to reward the player for watching the ad. And to do this, we would just want to go to the class and we want to add something to it. And this is going to be iUnity add listener. We're just going to add that. And it's throwing an error right now because it requires a few methods before it'll work. So I'm just going to use this and have it implement the interface for me. Basically, all that did was just create these methods. The onUnity ads ready, the onUnity ads did error, onUnity ads did start, and the onUnity ads did finish. Okay. And it by default it just adds this throw new system not implemented exception, and all this is going to do is when you run or even start Unity, you're just going to get all these what look like errors, but really it's just throwing you haven't done anything with it. So I'm going to comment these out just because they're not necessary for this. In this one, onUnity ads ready, I really wouldn't do anything with that, because unless you want to know when it's ready, and if it is ready, then show the ad, you can do that. All you would do is, if it's ready, then you just call one of these methods, but I don't care. The ads did error. You could use this one to throw an error to your user. Say, hey, there was a problem loading the ad or something. It didn't end up going through. I'm not going to do that, but you could. That's where you would implement that kind of code. And then on the Unity ads did start. This one's actually pretty useful. This one I would use. I actually have used in my game. It's where I put in the muting function, because if you don't mute the audio before the ad plays, the audio continues through the ad, your background music and like all your sound effects will go through the ad. And if advertisers find out about that, they're not gonna be happy with you. They'll be upset with Unity themselves, and Unity will disable your account. Okay, so you don't want that. Just mute the audio. But the one we wanna look at, the one that's really helpful for us, is this one. onUnity ads did finish, right? And you can see this is the only one that has a show result, and that is super helpful. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here and we're gonna add a switch statement. Okay? And we're going to look at show result. And then there's 3 cases: finished, skipped, and failed. So let's just implement those real quick. We'll do failed first. Then we will do, I guess we'll do skipped. And finished. Okay, so with failed, this means that the ad did load, but something happened right when it finished and it ended up failing. I would just use that opportunity to throw an error to the user, tell them, hey, something went wrong, I'm sorry. You could even give it to them. You know, it's like, it's not their fault, they tried, and then just reward them anyway. You can do that. I am not for this tutorial. I'm just gonna leave it blank. Skipped means that they skipped through the ad. They don't deserve the reward because they didn't watch the whole thing, so we would just, for this, I'm not gonna do anything for that. But what we wanna look at is the finished. So if the show result has finished, that means that they watched the entire ad and they are expecting their reward. So there's one thing you should know about this. This will even be called if you use a interstitial ad. So you have to make sure that the person or the user watched a rewarded video ad before giving them something. So this is what we would do. You would just put it in an if statement, and you just want to check that the placement ID is equal to the rewarded video ad. that means that the user watched the entire rewarded video ad and that they deserve something based on that. So just to show you, I'll just write a debug statement, and it will just state that we need to reward the player. And just to show you that the other one, the interstitial ad, does come here too, and you can use the same kind of stuff, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do, if placement ID equals the interstitial ad, then we're gonna wanna, I guess, then we're gonna wanna just say that finished interstitial. I can't type, but basically that it finished the interstitial ad. So now let's just see if that worked. Oh, before I forget, we didn't add a listener. So none of this would have worked if we didn't do this. We need to go advertisement.add listener. And then basically just pass it this object, okay? If we click play, down here in the console, if we click on an interstitial ad and we close out of it, you can see that it says finished interstitial, and if we go to a rewarded video ad and we close out of it, it's asking us to reward the player. And that's it. It's a lot simpler than how it used to be, and that's great, you know. The other way was kind of a pain. But that's everything you need to get started on implementing Unity ads. I'd just like to thank you guys for watching this video, and if you guys are interested in some of my projects, I'm almost done with Crosswalk Joyride. Not yet. I'm getting there, but Crosswalk the game is currently live on the App Store. There's a link in the description. You can go and check it out. Otherwise, I have started a Discord server. If you guys want to ask me some further questions, that's a better, more personal way of communicating with me. But yeah, thanks for watching.